All right, people, up next, that special ladies championship duel we talked about between Mercedes, Mone, and Toni Storm. But since this isn't an RWL match, we're turning this one over to our British broadcast colleagues, Sir Reggie Smythe, light heavyweight champion, and his broadcast partner, Frankie Sir Francis Drake, former British national champion, as they guide you through the match. Take it away, Reggie and Frank.
Thank you very kindly, Wally. Yes, I am here with Frankie Sir Francis Drake, former British national champion, and we are going to guide you through this next ladies champion duel match with Mercedes 9 Belts Mone, the current TBS women's champion, facing the current AEW women's champion, Toni Storm. And that should certainly be a good match, shouldn't it, Frank?
Oh yeah, I guess. Well, Toni Storm's the only real wrestler here. Mercedes Mone's a joke and everyone knows it.
Frank, to be fair, she's got 9 belts.
And she bought 7 of a mail order. God, don't be stupid.
This next ladies champions duel is set for 1 fall, with a 20-minute time limit. Introducing first, from Boston, Massachusetts, she is the TBS Women's World Champion, Mercedes Mone.
Loved by some, tolerated by others, and seen as cringe by most, Mercedes Mone, formerly Sasha Banks, with her 9 championship belts, including the Japan 5-Star Women's Championship, which she took from Manami Toyota over the summer.
And that's why I shouldn't give these birds creative control, Reg. They'll walk all over you, like Tony Khan.
Well, all that notwithstanding, Mercedes Mone still has 9 championship belts.
7 of them she bought mail order, I told ya.
Well, these two had an epic match over the summer for the AEW Women's Championship. Let's see how it fares this evening.
Well, at least we get to see Toni Storm. Best lady wrestler in the business these days, if you ask me.
From the Gold Coast of Australia, she is the AEW Women's Champion, Toni Storm.
Well, it has been argued that Toni Storm does have the best female wrestler gimmick in the industry today.
Yeah, well, you've got to do something these days to get yourself noticed, haven't you? And Toni Storm certainly done that. Otherwise, you're a nobody like Mercedes Mone, uncharismatic and all.
Well, Frankie, it certainly seems to me that you're one of those who hold Mercedes Mone in a great deal of disdain.
Hey, well, at least I'm not alone, Reg. I know there's a lot of people don't think Mercedes Mone is very much of anything.
Well, as Toni Storm won their previous outing, I'm leaning towards Toni Storm winning this one as well.
And well, you should. Mercedes Mone's a joke.
Well, if indeed she is a story with a humorous ending, we're about to find it out, Frankie. Both ladies ready to go. Referee Willie Johnson rings the bell. The ladies lock up collar and elbow. Toni Storm opens with a clothesline and an immediate pin. But no, not even a 1. Mercedes Mone being gator rolled by Toni Storm.
That's how you do it. I mean, look at her. Mercedes Mone can't even defend herself, can she? Weaker than bad coffee.
Mercedes Mone, wound up by Toni Storm, counters with a forearm. Gets a hold of Storm, whips her to the corner. Mercedes Mone, off the top rope with a nice arm drag. Fails to connect with the stomp. Taken down by Toni Storm, who misses with the kick. Mercedes Mone connects with a knee. Gathers up Toni Storm. Toni counters with a fireman's carry. Rounds up Mone again. Mone counters. Gets a hold of Toni Storm by the hair. Snapmare. Misses with the driving knee. Toni Storm connects with another clothesline, taking Mone down to the canvas.
Mone, not so great is she now?
Toni Storm going for another cover. What? Not even a 1 again. Mercedes Mone absolutely refusing to give up the ship. Toni Storm misses with the driving knee. Mercedes Mone with a double meteora, both knees to the chest of Toni Storm, followed up with a kick to the back. Mone counters again. An arm drag from Toni Storm. A kick to the midsection from Mone, and a standing drop kick that takes Toni Storm down to the mat again.
Alright, so maybe she's getting a little bit warmed up. Big deal.
Toni Storm spins her around with a hard right. Goes behind. Belly to back suplex. Mone rounded up again. Up over the shoulders of Toni Storm. And a beautiful Death Valley driver. And Toni Storm looking absolutely roused.
She'll be beating the crap out of Mercedes Mone, which ain't hard to do.
Toni Storm, with Mone against the ropes, pitches her to the outside between the ropes. And here she comes, rebounds off the rope. Oh, beautiful baseball slide. Taking Mone down to the outside as the referee initiates the count. Mone with a quick kick to Toni Storm. Gathers Storm up again. Winds up the arm and a Russian leg sweep.
That's the only way she can win. Fighting on the outside. Dirty cheater.
Mercedes Mone presently in control of Toni Storm. Driven into the barricades. A spinning neckbreaker from Mone. And the crowd here in Liverpool certainly not appreciating her antics.
Nor should they. She's a jerk. Freaking swamp.
Mone counters with a series of shots to the midsection. Toni Storm counters with a kick. Rounds up Mone. Mone quickly counters, shoves her away. Misses with the drop kick. Toni Storm connects with a right. Slammed headfirst to the steel on the outside by Mercedes Mone. Mone rounds up Toni Storm. Almost gets her into the ring, but not quite. Mercedes rounds up Toni Storm to a standing position. Takes herself back into the ring. Toni Storm pursues her. Hard whip to the ropes for Mone. And a nice Hurricane Runner from Toni Storm. Toni Storm rounds up Mercedes Mone. Mercedes Mone counters with a kick. And a clothesline. Followed up with a second. And a beautiful drop kick from Mercedes Mone.
Nothing beautiful about Mercedes Mone. It's ugly. Very, very ugly.
Mercedes Mone on the outside. Gathered up by Toni Storm as the referee starts the count again. Mone counters with a right. Toni Storm sidesteps her. Catches a kick to the midsection. Sidesteps her again. And, oh wow, look at this.
There it is. Nice series of butt bumps to the face from Mercedes Mone. Might improve her looks.
Oh, Frank, honestly. Mercedes Mone back on her feet. Toni Storm backs into the ring, followed by Mone. Has her up over the shoulders in the fireman's carry position. Another Death Valley driver. As Toni Storm covers one. Shoot, no. Again, another near fall. As Mercedes Mone gets herself back to a standing position. Toni Storm, whip to the ropes. And a slam from Mercedes Mone. Mone rounds her up. Toni Storm counters with a kick. And winds up on the outside as Mone sidesteps her.
Lousy jerk.
I can't stand Mercedes Mone. She's annoying.
Proper annoying.
Toni Storm rolls back inside the ring by Mone. Mercedes Mone catches an arm drag from Toni Storm. Responds with a fireman's carry. Gathers Toni Storm back to a standing position, but Toni Storm counters with a quick forearm. Mone counters with a kick, taking Toni Storm down to the canvas again. An arm drag and a drop toe hold from Toni Storm. Mercedes Mone goes behind. Hard whip to the ropes. Misses with the knee. Mercedes Mone counters with a shot. Nice suplex. And it appears Toni Storm is starting to wear out a little bit. Up over the shoulders goes Mercedes Mone. Oh, crashing neckbreaker. Here's a cover from Toni Storm. 1, 2. And again, Mercedes Mone finding her way out of danger. Storm misses with a stomp. connects with the right. They lock up, they tussle. Mone shoves her back. Toni Storm drives a knee into the chest of Mercedes Mone, and she is definitely roused. Mone on the outside again. Toni Storm going out right after her. The referee starts the count, a slap to the face. Mone counters, a drop kick takes Toni Storm to the floor. Can't imagine why she thinks she's getting any fan support.
Got no idea. She's an idiot, besides everything else.
Toni Storm counters Mone. They lock up, they tussle again. Mone shoves her back again. Toni Storm counters with a forearm and a clothesline. Followed up with a series of stomps to the face. Toni Storm, perhaps sensing the end might be near here. A kick to the midsection. Sets up the underhook. Nice powerbomb, sit-out powerbomb. 1, 2, and again another near fall as Mone finds her way out of trouble once again. Mone counters with a shot. And another that spins Toni Storm around, drives both knees into the back, and here it is. The bank statement. Toni Storm in the center of the ring with no place to go. The referee check. She is tapping out. That is it. Mercedes Mone has won this match.
You know, I didn't even pay 10p to be here, and I want my money back.
The time was 8 minutes and 43 seconds, and your winner by submission, Mercedes Mone.
What a bunch of bull, Reg. I say that match was rigged.
Well, Frank, you can say it, but it doesn't necessarily make it so. But in the end, despite a very solid effort from Toni Storm, Mercedes Mone pulling out an upset win here in this ladies' championship duel.
Yeah, well, if it was my patch, I'd call for an investigation. I say that match was rigged.
Frank, you are a pleasure to work with. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this ladies' championship duel match. We're turning it back over to the original crew from Snarl right after this.